already, and I'm filming monthly sketchbook tour, and in this video I will tell you about my book projects that I did this month, and I will tell you about my little trips to beautiful places here in the UK, because it's finally getting a little bit warmer, and some days are not so rainy, and I had an opportunity to go to two beautiful places. And I will start with the sketchbook, and here is the drawing that I did on the May 1st. It actually has a very interesting story behind, because this drawing I made from the memory. I was on the running workout in the park, and I didn't take my phone with me. It is a rare occasion when I don't have phone or a sketchbook, and at first my idea was just to relax and not to think about images and anything related, but running there I realized that it would be so interesting to try to capture in the memory these beautiful moments I've seen, like red flag in the water, and this bench that was already covered in the water, nest that was almost on the water but actually on a branch that went through the water. And the most beautiful sight I've seen this day was a white swan in the forest. It was absolutely gorgeous, like in this already, dusky, a little bit gloomy forest. There was like just this big white bird sitting on the ground, and I've been standing there for 5 minutes trying to capture details, trying to understand what's going on, and later when I came back I put it all in just in a pen, and after I draw this picture, and I think it's just an amazing exercise, and it really helps to work differently, first of all, and for me also it was very liberating to put some ugly sketches in the sketchbook, because I always have this problem of trying to make them beautiful and trying to make each drawing beautiful, but here I just put them so I don't forget about them. I don't forget the idea. I've seen the this little observation. I didn't want to lose it, so I just put them, and in the end actually I like the spread. It looks really interesting and nice. Here I went to the Surrey Hills. It's a beautiful place near London, and there I wanted to draw a beautiful place with some strange trees. Actually these are not flowers. These are not white flowers on the trees. These are silver leaves, I would say, but they looked like almost white flowers, and I was trying to catch this into the drawing, but in this one I didn't like it, so I did another one and tried another approach. But then I realized that maybe I shouldn't try to draw trees in the whole image. Maybe I should just try to draw a tree. And also drawing more and more in sketchbook actually bringing me this idea that the current sketch, the current drawing shouldn't be a perfect one. And yes, I can repeat it if I didn't like it, and maybe I will just glue some new paper on top and redraw this part because I don't like it. I really like this part. It's really gentle and it's beautiful and it has everything I would like to, but these are not good. And yeah, so actually yeah, I've been trying to draw more and more. And for example, this piece, I like a lot. It's very gentle and it has a beautiful texture, and I thought, okay, maybe I should somehow copy this into that, and it will give me one decent drawing. So working in sketchbook in this approach helps me to get rid of a stiffness, to try more and to think less, because it's just a horrible thing to overthink. It actually really doesn't help. And here you can see how my drawing looks like when I'm just finished at the point, and I didn't have much time, so I had like 5 minutes there on the point, and I took a picture, a photo as well, and maybe I will just add details later, but I wanted to catch the shape, catch the idea of this road and of this white, very light tunnel under the trees and between the trees and the road, this light. So yeah, maybe I hope that I will come back later to this drawing and finish it, because that's what I usually do. And you will see that all the drawings currently are not in the best shape, and I will do them later. I will finish them later. This is how I work in a sketchbook. So here I just did a small thumbnail of beautiful path as well, where I really like this white arches under the trees because they're very poetic. And also for the whole May I've been trying to draw some hawthorn, if I pronounce it correctly, because they are just majestic, and for example David Hockney drew a lot of them, and they're really interesting trees with a lot of beautiful white flowers, and like the whole branches are covered with these white flowers, and it's not so obvious how to draw them, so I've been trying several options. Also, I have an app on the iPhone, my phone, where I can draw with the finger, so if I had like a minute on the bus stop waiting for a bus, I would just make a small picture of this tree, because they're everywhere, and it was interesting to try to catch this. I think this piece is pretty good. This one is not, it's too literate, but this one is good. And this one, by the way, is also from the walk without a phone in the park. It was a football which drowned in the lake, and there was some tall grass, and the grass had 3 colors. So the bottom part of the grass was dark blue. Probably it was the part that was submerged into water previously. Then there was a gray part, the middle one, and the red part, which probably was like the newest or the fresh one. It was red, so I put it down after the walk as well, so not to forget it. And this one was after the walk as well. So it's a really interesting thing to try to bring memories on the paper and try to think about it watching at the landscape or anything else. Here you can see some funny sketches from my Nature in the City drawing group. In London here we try to meet every month to draw some nature in the city, as you can understand from the name. And in May we went to the Hackney city farm and draw some city farm animals. So it was a nice exercise as well, just to draw moving animals, trying to catch the movement, not trying to be perfect or to get some kind of decent image. And maybe, so yeah, it was playing around and fooling around with it. So, for example, there was a moment when 2 young goats started to fight, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to draw them. It's obvious, it's like it's a second, 2 seconds of the moment, but I really wanted to catch this passion. And they're fun, so I've tried to do my best. Obviously it's not a finished illustration, it's not a finished image, but this is a good, I really like this movement. I really think that maybe one day I will use it in some illustration. Why not? So here are lazy lambs, very lazy, they were just sleeping in different poses. And some fantastic roosters. They had such a beautiful appearance, and one of them even bit me when I drew him, so maybe he didn't like it. And wonderful ducks, you know, these vertical ducks. They're just so goofy, so beautiful. And of course it's easier to draw details when they are calm and standing on one leg. So this Actually, this spread is rather good, I think, and the composition of the whole spread is pretty strong. Here are wonky young lambs. They were just fresh out of their mother, very young, with very funny legs, and they were trying to suck the milk, so on the butts from here. And for me, this sketchbook is actually all about trying overcoming the fear of imperfect drawing. So I thought, like, I want to draw my yard, but I was too scared to start. So one day I just took the pen and started, and it didn't come out so nice as I would like, but I liked that I started it. So for me, it's the most important thing here. And we have peaches in our yard, by the way. Last year we collected them, and they were good, furry. They really had fur on them because it's too cold, but they were pretty good, and now they are just like this big, and I wanted to have a memory of them growing. So I really like this drawing. It's gentle, but still it's recognizable. And here I don't like it so much because it's too separated. So basically there is a background of some pastel spots and very flat foreground with these peaches, which is not so good because I had too many layers of paint here, and this is something unrecognizable. So basically I like this one, and even the texture here is showing the fuzz on the edge of the peach. And we had a lot of flowers, for example these beautiful iris, I don't know by the way, can I call them this in English, but yeah, some beautiful parts of textures that I just can't get enough of it. I would like to just enjoy the abstract textures of the drawings. I just like it. Okay, I will skip it for now. Here is the backyard again, this time in color, and actually it was quite difficult to start it because there are a lot of things going on, but I will come back to it later. Obviously it's some topics that are really important to me, but at the same time it's so cold. So now there is no reason to sit there, but hopefully there will be more sunny days, and I will do it again, because I feel like sketchbook as well, it's not only a exercise notebook, but also it's representation of my life, on what's going on, and I really want to put down the moments I'm in now, because I know it will change pretty fast, so I want to capture every moment here. And here it goes, birthday trip to Snowdonia, but before this I would like to show you my short trip to Peak District in the north of England. I choose to try horizontal compact sketchbook that I did actually by cutting this one in quarters. So first of all I did this cut, and later I actually cut it in two, so it's actually a quarter size of the original sketchbook, because I knew that I won't be able to fill it in a couple of days I had there. But what I'd like to say that I didn't like the horizontal format of the sketchbook. I didn't like the landscape format. It was so difficult, and also I didn't like the small size, but on the same time I think that it's very interesting thing to change sizes of the sketchbook, because it makes you to think differently, completely differently. You cannot do the same thing you've done here. For example, the most finished drawing here is this one. You just cannot fit this into this little sketchbook. So you had to think differently, and you had to get rid of extra stuff and put only the most important things. And for example, in this sketchbook it would be even more difficult. So it's an interesting exercise, I think. And also now at the Royal Drawing School work mostly on super large sheets like A2, A3, and they are pretty big for me. So I would say that it is extremely important and useful exercise, but I will definitely not go for the landscape format. Maybe I will try the smaller sketchbook, but not in the landscape format, because it's too it just only gives you one option, basically. And here, so at this first sketch I realized that because it is a small sketchbook, I cannot work in the same way I work in this one. So I have to experiment, I have to try something different, because I won't be able just to make smaller dots. Just not possible here. But I liked how I put this drawing in pen right beside the drawing in the watercolors, because it's just a good contrast. And I just started to think about larger pieces of the drawings, to try not to think about the details, not to think about some very delicate things, but to think about larger objects and larger spots. For example, this drawing I started with these little fine details, and this one I started absolutely differently, although it's the same piece. But I started it with the mountains that was divided by the how do you say this, stone dry walls. And actually I realized that in the same landscape, when looking at the same landscape, we can focus on so many different things, and depending on what you focus on, the drawing will be so different. And it's a fascinating thing about human vision, that actually it doesn't work like photography, because in photography you will just tell us about what you see. Like, you see a tree, you see a lawn, you see a dry wall, you see another tree, and you will just count it, like naming subject by subject. But human vision, I think it works differently. And for example, when I thought about all these dry walls that cover the whole landscape, that was the only thing I could think about. Like, it was the main subject in my vision. And in this case, trees doesn't interest me anymore. All I think is about these dry walls and how even the mountain is divided by the walls. So it's a different story, actually, and I find it fascinating. And another pen drawing. And here it was a very interesting moment when I was just trying to draw a landscape, and at some moment a huge flock of the, not crows, but some kind of black mountain birds, I would say, they started to fly around and like screaming, so frightening. It was a bit morbid. It was really a bit scary, but it was really interesting because they were flying on my eye level, and it changed the whole picture as well. So all these drawings were made from the same spot. It's just absolutely crazy. This one, which is absolutely different from this one, but actually it's a very close one. This is the same drywall, but this tree was closer, so this tree would be here. And I really like to play in these mind games, to think of point of view of the how do I approach a landscape. It's really interesting. Actually, I think I could just sit there for whole 3 days and thinking about it, because, for example, I decided that I want to go to another spot because it's not so interesting to sit on one place. But actually, when I went uphill, it was not so interesting for me, because there were a lot of grass. There was a lot of grass and some pieces of stone, of rock, and it was not so complex in terms of the space, and I couldn't find something to put my eye on. So this drawing is pretty flat. It turns out pretty flat, so maybe I should think about another approach or something, but it was... and in this empty space, when there is only a grass and a rock, I started to pay more attention to the sky, because the sky is huge. And here I was trying just to draw some clouds and this vast horizon. And for example, at some moments I realized that sky-like songs were such an important piece of the landscape that I have to put them into the drawings, into the sketchbook, and I put it like some kind of diagram trying to reflect the pitches and noises. Of course, it's completely total nonsense, but I liked it. Here is our camp station, because we travel in our camper van, and so here I'm lying in our camper van, my feet in the air, and I'm just enjoying the landscape after walking around all day, and again enjoying the skies. So it was really nice to be in the vast empty space with a huge sky and to think about it. Or is this one? And there were just tiny pieces of the forest. It's just a really precious thing, and I wanted to capture this tiny part. Here was a creek, here was another pasture area, so it was a really small piece of the forest, but it was so packed with different plants and beautiful trees, and there was a little robin bird, and those beautiful poppies, and you know, this, not red, but they were red. Oh, no, not red, how to say it? Orange. So, and the robin bird also has some orange in it, so I tried to somehow make a rhythm of it, but I don't think it happened. But I really like this tree. I just like this one, that one. Yeah, so this works for me. Everything else, not so much, but it's a good start for something else. And in this format, in this size, I won't be able to go for more if I don't go with pencils, for example. But maybe I'll try it in another scale. And again, so I didn't like it as much, so I've tried another one. And this one is so different from this one, but I like this one actually better. So again, trying, and yeah, something doesn't work, but that's all right. That happens. But here I like this white flower, just how it emerges from the wall. And more stones. Here I realized that it's also blue, and actually you can't even understand what's going on because it's just all blue. And here I've tried to add some warm tones, some green tones, but still not so much contrast, because it was actually this edge was the edge of a huge rock on top of the hill, and this is the valley, so this is far, far away, and obviously you can't see it here. This one, I like this part. I like it as an abstract thing. It's just a good combination of the colors, I would say. The rocks are difficult to draw. I don't know, how do you find it? It's not so easy. Here I was just too tired of everything, and I decided to use my pastels to make a quick sketch. But later, on the top of the mountain, where there is a little point, I really wanted to capture this absolute flatness, absolute, like, it just almost negative space, because it's just a lot of sky and completely horizontal land. It's just so flat, and I wanted to show it somehow, but actually later I've paid more attention to the clouds and to the skies. And these are the drawings made from photos. I don't like this one, so I tried to redo it one more time. This sheep. Sheeps are very difficult to draw for me, because I want to draw them as a white negative space on the green, but it's not so easy to capture negative space correctly. So sometimes they look like this, and this is crazy, and this is also not very good. So this one is good, I like it, and this one not so good as well. So yeah, and hopefully I will make some more sketches from the photos, just trying to put it all down, and maybe we'll experiment on them later, because basically it was the failure sketchbook. I don't like it, but it's a good thing that I don't like it, because I won't be afraid to ruin it. And Snowdonia. So I had a birthday actually recently, and for the birthday my husband and I, we went to Snowdonia for 5 days, and there was a lot of walking, a lot of running, and a lot of drawing. So this is the first sketch I've done there, and I really liked how it was going, but unfortunately some water spilled on it, and it has these ugly marks. I don't like these ugly marks, but again, what I was trying to capture is the road into the forest, and this space behind. So it is obviously an abstract drawing, but here it is again. This one is less abstract, and at the moment I'm always thinking about what I like more, to bring some figurative things like trees, for example. So trees, making this obvious that it is a road, these are the trees, and here it's not so obvious, but I like this as the composition, as a set of shapes. And yeah, so it's an interesting process of research of my own interests and my own ideas, because on one hand I want it to be recognizable. I want people to understand what's going on, and for example I want to use it in illustration, and in illustration it has to be recognizable, but at the same time I just love the textures and just the shapes and the colors. So I really enjoy drawing these blobs, these spots, and I can do it forever. So it is a difficult question, and here you can see that this drawing, actually it is this part that is left quite abstract here, but it was a bush of the flowers, and just a beautiful piece. And I wanted, for this landscape, I wanted to draw every bit of it, because it was just so gorgeous and really beautiful place. And so I decided to zoom in, and here you can see that I've added a lot of details, but I'm not so sure that I like it this way, because maybe it's too many details and they are too literate, somehow too obvious. So yeah, I will rework this one, because I like this ferns. I like the rabbit that is following some kind of magical route. I like this part, but I don't like these flowers. They are too much for me. So again, it's getting more and more interesting for me to observe these transformations of reality, to rework again and again and again, to trying to bring out some gold out of this, out of this rock. But at the same time, I understand that it's too long to work on one thing, so I don't know how to deal with it yet, but this is how I work. And I also like the idea that I can put a quick map and pencil on the paper. So I will have a mental map fixed on the paper, and later I would be able to use it. So I will make some color spots of different places, for example. So all these sketches are from this map. And I was sitting here on the bridge, just trying to think of this landscape from different points of views and cropping it differently. So here it's pretty much the same crop. And here I would just crop this piece. This one is a bit larger one, and I've made a couple of photos, and I think that with these sketches, with photos, and with this map, actually I could do an endless amount of drawings from the same spot, basically. And it's just so funny. It's just such a nice feeling that nature is an endless inspiration. And I like the idea of the map because it helps to visualize how everything works. And it's not so obvious with the pictures, for example. So yeah, here I've tried. Again, ships are just, they're just my enemies, because on one hand they're super interesting things to draw, and they are white on the green and it's just beautiful, but I don't know. I can do this. Here are just like tiny clouds, I don't know. And here I was on the top of the very windy hill, and it was like 700 meters above the sea level, and the sea is just right here. You can see sea. So it was very windy, and I didn't have enough patience and time to draw a full drawing, so I made a really fast pencil sketch, but I wanted to try to put on paper these clouds, this crazy sky, and this pile of rocks on the top. So again, it's just trying to memorize on paper, because I have a terrible memory. So I will just put this down to have this memory of what was going on. And this is my way back to the valley. So our campsite was somewhere here, and it was a really beautiful view. This is a top of Mountain Snowdonia. It's just above the 1,000 meters high, so it's the highest mountain in the southern part of the UK. And next day we will go here with my husband, but I won't draw there because it would be trail running with my husband, so no drawing. And I have to separate it, because when I'm running with my husband, I don't have time to draw. So I will have one day of drawing, one day of running. It's complicated, but I like to do both. And there was actually a very old and beautiful railroad with a beautiful old train. And this day I didn't see it, but the next day I would see it. And here actually I saw it from very far away. I heard it a lot. It was very loud, and I've seen how it just was going through the forest. Here was a field, and it was going on the edge between the field and the forest. It was really beautiful, and I've tried to capture this, but here I don't like how it came off, and here is a bit better. So I've tried to make this tree as a frame, as a very close foreground, and the train in the background, and to add this curve to make it stronger, because it was actually a curve here, but I didn't. So here it's not curvy enough, and here it's too curvy, but I like this one better. And with the tree again, sometimes trees are just coming out very nicely, and sometimes they just don't. So for example, these trees, I like these trees. They look good. And here it's just a disaster. But here, for example, this absolute abstract drawing of the trees and the lake and mountain behind, I love it so much. Obviously it is not a drawing of the landscape. No one would be able to recognize it, but I just love it so much. And the feeling of this sun coming through the canopy of the trees, it is so good. I can feel it here in this drawing. I like it so much. And here I tried to bring more realism into the same drawing, so it's from the same point. I just put more trees and more branches, and basically bring in more reality into the drawing. I like this one more. And again, when I'm out of time or out of patience, I would change my materials to pencil or to the crayon, because it's just easier. And here, for example, I knew that I have only 10 minutes or so, so I wanted to draw this beautiful place. It was an abandoned house in the very dark forest with the very green ferns. And here I've tried just to capture the essentials, to capture the very bright green, because everything else would be very dark, and to capture the house itself and the main tree, because it was so in the middle of everything. And later maybe I will, color it down as a kid who's coloring his book. So, or for example, even after this one, I had an extra minute or so to make a drawing of the river coming out from the lake. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place when you can see the start of the river. And I was watching how the clouds reflecting in the water and how it changes. For example, that this closer part of the water that was closer to me, I was standing on the bridge, and this closer part of the water, it was completely transparent, and later I could see the reflection of the sky, and it was blue, and this was very dark, and with this green grass in the water, it was very beautiful. And I was standing there drawing, and at one moment there was a duck with the tiniest ducklings like this. They were just small like this, and it was so good. And they crossed the river actually, so I put them down, and later I would watch them trying to navigate this pretty strong currents on the edges of the river, because there were a lot of stones here on this edge, and they would just slide down the stones and navigate in these little streams, little currents into these little lagoons between the rocks. It was just absolutely amazing sight. And again, I put it down as well as I could in a minute or so. I just put that they were trying to catch these flows of the water, and Mama Duck would stand on the rock near, and she would waggle her tail and reassuring them, like, yeah, come on, let's go. So it was a nice moment to finish my trip. So I think I will continue my work on all these drawings. Some of them will come as more realistic, like this one. So for example, it was also pretty much like that. And later I would add more details, I would add more contrasts, I would add a rabbit, so it's just a work that needs to be done. And some of them I will leave as it is. But yeah, that was my May. I wanted to tell you that this month I've pitched a project to the publishers, and I'm waiting for the answer, and I'm pitching it because it's a very long-term work. It's a lot of work to be done, and I don't think I can do it without a publisher. And definitely, if the publisher would like to buy this book, they would like to make it their own, like they would like to control the process. So I'm pitching it, and I won't tell you what it is about, but I will tell you that I really want it to be a Leporello book. Leporello book is, concertina, it's also called. So it's a book when you don't have a traditional binding. You have all the pages on the same piece of paper, and your image could be looked through. And I want to tell you about it because it turned out the composition of such a book is completely different from the traditional when you flip the pages. So traditional is when you have an opportunity to flip the pages, and this is called concertina or Leporello. I don't know how to call it in English. Hopefully it's called the same. What is the where is the difference? So, for example, if I have such book, in the traditional book, you consider composition of one spread. Even if you make a storyboard and you will put down all the thumbnails of every spread, and you'll think about the sequence of compositions of on the different spreads, so you'll somehow consider how they relate to each other, but they will be on the separate pages. And for example, if you draw a shape in the first spread, you'll think about this negative space only, right? Like this. This will be the negative space on the spread. But if you work with concertina format, it changes. So you have this format as well. And it's almost like you have an endless amount of composition options. So it has to be good in this configuration. It has to be good in this configuration as well. And it has to be a good composition in this configuration. I hope I can, I hope it makes sense, but so it's not just a composition of this spread and this negative space, but you also have to consider everything around and to think about the whole composition of the whole book, like here. And it's very different, first of all. I didn't realize it, and it's pretty difficult, I would have to say, because again, I work in nonfiction, and I can imagine that in nonfiction you have a lot of things to show, and you have a lot of things to count, I would say. So you will put one tree, another tree that you want to show, you will put a bird, and everything was good, but later you are adding another spread, and you understand that your composition is ruined by this spread, and you have to rethink this one because of that one. And later you will add another one, and it's just an endless game of trying to somehow come with the whole length of the book. It's very interesting, it's very difficult, and if any publisher would like to proceed with the book, it will be such an interesting experience. I really hope that it will be interesting for a publisher, but I will have to wait for the answer because it's not a fast process. And meanwhile, I'm waiting. I start to work on my own book, on the next one, because I have an idea, and I think it could be good. And actually with this book, I will go to the summer picture book school at Cambridge. Probably you know about the Cambridge MA course. It's a very strong one, and I really enjoy looking at the work of the alumni, of the students, and it would be really interesting to try this short summer school. It's only for 5 days, but hopefully it will be interesting. It will be in a month, in less than a month. So yeah, next time we will see each other. I'll tell you about the school. Also, I received my author copies of the book which is called The Forest of the Monster, which was written by Chinese author, and we've been working on it last year. It was very interesting, and I loved the monster themselves. It's a very sweet monster. You can learn more about the book and about the process. Actually, I have a video on Instagram where I talk about the process, but here I'm just enjoying the copies because it's such a treat to have real copies of the real book published, and it is published in Chinese, and I really love how Chinese letters are put on the page. It is something very interesting. Always Chinese letters are so interesting, and actually it was fun to create the book about the forest because it's my favorite place to be. Bye bye, thank you.